It looks like everybody is back. Um, I hope you had a interesting session in the breakout rooms. I'd like to hear just a highlight on the points that came from each one of your groups. If you can have one rep from each group, just share your thoughts for a minute or two. You can raise your hand and then we can proceed. Is there anyone who's ready to share a summary of the thoughts from your group?
Yeah, I could go. It's not quite a summary, but just some interesting things that came up as we spoke was the fact that I think generally for all of us, we felt that the older we grew, the closer we wanted to get to our past. Even when in the past, that past was something that we didn't want to quite associate with. But it is now something that we are delving into deeper and deeper. And the fact that the I and the we go hand in hand, and that we must get the insight into ourselves, understand self, to be able to give into the bigger body of the we as we strive to live out Ubuntu.
Thank you for that, Linda. That is very insightful. Would someone else like to go next? Anyone else that would like to go next?
From group 5, maybe.
Please go ahead.
So from group 5, over the first question that was raised, I think the participants spoke from different angles. Others, for instance, were touched by the domain of execution that you need to have the power if you have to transform what is not right, what is not working well in our environment. It takes our humanity to manifest that which we need. So there is need for more consciousness of just the power to act. We talk too much, but then there is little that gets done. There was also talk about consciousness, that we are a reflective humanity, and therefore there is that general calling over things that affect us. The consciousness which comes from self and which comes from outside. And so when one section of the world is affected, another section of the world also gets affected. When you get to hear the news of what is happening globally, you wish that others were as conscious as you. And then if that was a situation, even the course of action would be probably the same from whichever corner of the world that you would be approaching a situation at hand, be it war, be it sickness or disease. And then speaking of the second question, what would it mean if we consciously engaged these domains? For us, it meant that there will be so much love, there will be so much peace, there will be so much so much progress. And is it justifiable, or can you say that all people are Africans? Well, if we say to be African is to be human, then that humanity in us groans for more humanity. Then, in that sense, surely there are those elements that are common. It doesn't matter the color of who you are or what you are, but that humanity speaks louder. So if to be African is to be human, then surely all people are Africans. I think I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much for that. To be African is to be human. I like that. Maybe we can get one more voice from one more group before we move on to an open Q&A. And also, if you prefer, you can go ahead and share your thoughts in the chat, or you can put your questions in the chat and I can read them out for Adewale to respond to before we close. So do we have one more voice from the groups? In this step, we're now going to have a Q&A, and we're opening up the floor. So if any of you have any questions for Adewale or any other contributions you'd like to make, you can go ahead and raise your hand or post the question or thought in the chat, and I'll be able to read it out for you, and Adewale will be able to respond to those questions. Okay. I guess I'm going to go ahead with one of my own questions because I still had a few of my own. And I'll also share.
There's Denise raising her hand.
Denise has raised her hand.
Oh, I was not able to see that. Please, Denise, go ahead.
Physical hand.
Yes, I didn't raise my hand. I rose my real hand. Okay.
Right.
I
Please go
want
ahead.
to ask a question that popped up in our group. Is how can we make Ashe? You know, how can we transform our conscience, insights, and all that in real execution, in going to change? Because we are only one, maybe we are a group of people, but we are in a prototype. But how can we do that effectively? Not only stay in the realm of the ideas.
You know, that's a very beautiful question, but it's a endless question, because what works for one person does not work for the other. What works for one group does not work for the other. But the real point was made earlier by one of our speakers. I'm trying to find his name. I think he's a preacher. Raphael Banda. He was telling you about the power of your own consciousness. Now, consciousness is light. If you are conscious, if you take enough time to become conscious of yourself, the clarity of what the next step is never a problem. Because the first thing that you do is you build up a discernment of what matters to you. The second thing is a mastery of your own mistakes and misdeeds. And so you have a clear idea of what you have learned from that. The third thing is the power of, yes, prototyping, experimenting, taking risks, improvising. All of these things are expressions of light, expression of your will. And when you are able and courageous enough to take the risk and express your will, of course, there's no certainty it will work, but there's a certainty that you will learn something new and you'll be one step forward. And the final point I'm going to make about that is that there's a practice of positive feedback rather than negative feedback. Most of us are oriented towards negative feedback, which is that we set a goal, or we project out, or we confess something for ourselves, we try it, and because we don't get to it, there's a gap between expectation and reality. we start criticizing that gap. No, that gap provides us insight to new possibilities and new actions. So the challenge is to look for the new actions and the new possibilities and the new alternatives, and then prototype those. And then life becomes a constant movement of prototyping and trying. And over a period of time, that becomes a habit. And when that becomes a habit, it looks like you're perfection at doing it. Not that you have made so many mistakes, that you have a fluency in making new mistakes. So I share sometimes is the fluency of making many mistakes.
That is beautiful. We need to make many mistakes, and I completely agree. That's the main power that you get in prototyping, being ready and able to make the mistakes, but very quickly transition from that and learn from those mistakes and move on. That is very powerful. Thank you for the question, Denise. Do we have another question? If you're raising your hand and I cannot see you, please go ahead.
Thanks so much. I have a question from the
Yes, please.
first question. We have Ubuntu and then execution. In most African countries now, especially for governments, we are good at preparing strategic plans, strategic documents, launch documents. We are going to do A, B, C, D, and in a very colorful way. But when it comes to execution, I'm seeing that most of the times it is lacking. What can we do to ensure that we execute what has been planned? Or if we are not meeting the plan, we at least have something that is executed well for our nations and for the communities. Thank you.
I'm assuming that I should respond to that.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
And the honest thing that I can tell you is that plans are the very basis of paralysis. You know, when you write and put energy in an elaborate plan, that takes a lot of spirit, a lot of passion. And by the time you finish that, reality has moved on from what you planned. And so that creates inertia in itself because you've gone through months of planning. The minute you start writing the things down, reality is moving on. You're trying to catch up with it. And so part of it is trying to understand what is significant to do, what is significant for yourself to do, and respecting the fluency and the dynamics of trying things rather than perfecting things. I don't know whether this is making sense to you. There is a way in which planning is just the process of thinking rather than the process of determining what to do. If you focus not on the plan, but the process itself, then it becomes the engine for doing more effective stuff. I'm sorry, we've just had a complete loss of electricity, so you don't see me. And see, all the best laid plans for today have not worked. So why does it change now? Well, let's have fun with this because there's a group of people waiting in the next room for me to come and speak to them. And I feel very sorry for them because there's no light either. But what I'm saying to you, let me see whether I can increase the light somehow. But I'm not sure this does that. But I'm here. I'm still here. Can you hear me?
No, don't worry. We can hear you loud and clear.
see
You can
you.
continue.
The darkness.
So the real challenge is this beautiful thing called life, is having the courage to try out things, not to wait until you've planned it to perfection. Where can you buy my book? Can I really apologize to say it's out of print at the moment. There's an electronic version on Amazon. That's the best I can do. I'm hoping to reissue it, but I'm not in a hurry to reissue it because I can't even go back to it. I'd rather it lives through dialogue than capture it again, if that makes any sense to you. But yes, the challenge is not the plan, it's the process of planning. The process of planning is bringing people together to think collectively, to engage in problem solving. If you harness the energy of planning rather than the plan itself, then it can push to action. But with government, it's very difficult because our governance is really about participation. It's really about the dynamics of change. It's about the structure of power. And the structure of power can be very debilitating. So that's part of the challenge. That's why it's easier for government to write a great book. And in 4 years, usually our governments are 4 years. It's too much for them to do. So the book is there as a memento to one time they had a meeting, a great meeting in a great seminar room somewhere. Oh, we've got light back, so that's excellent. Beautiful.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that, Adewale. That's very interesting, getting caught up in the planning. That's something I'm definitely going to take away from this. As we're about to wrap up, we have one more question from Maggie, and then we can close.
Thanks, Papias, and thanks, Adewale.
Yes, I'm coming right now. We're finishing. Sorry, I'm very sorry.
Okay, I'll make it quick. Adewale, thank you for this amazing insights. I'm just curious, the Omoluabi, I don't know whether I got it right.
Yes,
in terms of
got it right.
Yes.
Are these principles, do they come in sequence? And I ask this because I'm just wondering whether I have to start all the way from 1 to 7, and if the sequence is disturbed, do you foresee a situation where one does not exactly get it right in ensuring that the principles are actually bring out a positive result? Because I'm asking this because, I mean, some of us do not think in sequence. We're always asking, we're always thinking all over the place. You know what I mean? So I'm just curious to see how this really works in actual practice.
So you are designed not to think in sequence. Please don't do it in sequence. The only sequence that matters is the sequence of your soul and your own spirit. It's not the sequence of someone wrote something. I'm generalizing, I apologize, but as an African, I understand the wisdom of something working for me rather than me working for something. The goal is to make it work for you rather than you work for the thing. You are an incredible spirit and energy that has its own wisdom. How can I write something in Nigeria not knowing you and then say the wisdom that I have that worked for me will work for you? You have to contextualize it. I hope you find a way of using it in whatever order that you want and making it work for you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we want to take one more question, maybe, if there's any pressing questions before
Let me just take that, but I have to dash up. I'm in trouble already.
Okay. Yeah, no. Thank you very much, Adewale, for your time. We really appreciate it. You can see in the comments that the people do appreciate the insight, and we're definitely interested in speaking more on this. We might have another masterclass to just go deeper into this. But thank you very, very much. We can let you go as we close over here.
I want to know where I get the book. Can I
Yeah.
buy it at Amazon?
You can get a digital version on Amazon. The book
great.
itself is out of print, but there'll be a reissue fairly soon.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Papias, just
Thank
reshare
you.
the title of the book. Papias, please.
Sorry.
Please reshare the title, the actual title of the book.
What I will do is we'll share the link for the group, for the book in the group, so that everybody has access to that. If you are not in any of the Ubuntu Lab groups, please just put your WhatsApp number in the chat. I'll be able to pick that up and add you to the group. But once again, thank you very much,
Thank you
Adewale.
very much. I'm sorry I have to dash. Have a
No, we
lovely,
understand.
lovely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, and you
Bye.
too.
Thank you.
Bye. So once again, thank you, everybody. But before we go, we have Denise who's been scribing. So Denise, if you could go ahead and show us what you have created for us today. And you can speak to it so we can all appreciate it. You're muted, Denise, so we're not able to hear you.
Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it and we can hear you. You can go ahead.
Well, I just began with the story he told us about the 80s locust generation, just destroying everything and just wanting to have material profits, and then how this would be, how he worked on it for transforming leadership, about the importance of being in contact with our ancestors and knowing ourselves, and the child of the God of character. That's the Amulawabi, the name of the book, and the code he developed. And then I went on just trying to pick up the important principles in how we all are Africans, since this is the birth of humanity.
Thank you very much for this, Denise. We'll be sure to share this in the WhatsApp groups as well. So as long as you're in there, you'll be able to get access to the book. You'll get access to this scribing, and you'll get updates on everything going on with Ubuntu Lab. So thank you, Denise. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Absensha Adewale, for all of you making this a phenomenal session. And thank you all for coming to participate. It would not be complete without each one of you and each one of your insights. Okay, I believe this is the end of our session. And before we close our session, we will always close the same way that we opened. We opened with greetings, and now we're closing with goodbyes in our local languages. So you can say goodbye. You can turn on your video if possible and your audio and just say goodbye in your local language. Thank you, everybody.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Deus.
Bye.
Poema.
Bravo.
Até a próxima.
Tisuma, mtenda wino. Sikiza mwema.
Hamba kahle. All right.
Bye.
Beautiful.